Fighters, today I'm excited to have my new buddy Bryce on the show for our Contractor Intervention. Been looking forward to this. I think we know some of the same people. I think he's related to some guys I went to high school with, so we got a little commonality there. But anyway, Bryce, I almost called you John because that was the other guy. Bryce, welcome to the fight. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. It's a little chilly up here today because it's -1 and it's 1 degree with -17 wind chill. So I'm glad I'm a landscaper and I'm inside today. So,
ouch. Yeah. So you're in Minnesota. You're a landscaper. How long you been in business?
This will be my 6th year in business, doing the landscaping on my own. I've been in the industry for give or take about 8 to 10 years, depending on how you want to count those years. So,
okay. Well, the other cool thing is you're a Marine Corps veteran.
Correct. I did 14 years active duty, and because of unforeseen circumstances and drawdowns, I switched services. I'm now a Army Reservist here in Minnesota. So still serving the country, going on 23 years now, as of December. So, yeah.
And what'd you do in the Corps?
Aviation life support. I was the guy that dressed all the air crew and made sure their oxygen systems and their parachutes and life rafts worked.
Kind of
they were having a
job.
Well, the saying we had was we were the last to let you down, and well, if you had to use my gear, you were having a very bad day. So
yeah.
So yeah.
Yep. Well, good stuff, man. Thanks for your service, Semper Fi, brother. And let's dig in. So what are we solving today, man?
Well, honestly, as I was going through the whole process here to do the intervention, the question of why just kept hitting me, kind of like you've been asking in some of your podcasts and stuff. And honestly, I nailed it down to lead flow. I'm doing stuff, so to speak, and it's working, but I think it could be working better. One of the things I've noticed, especially this year, now that I have a little bit more data, is that yes, COVID helped out, but I've noticed that the leads aren't coming in as much, and for some reason, either the Google algorithm changed or something, but Google isn't working for me as well as it used to. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, even with me hiring a marketing company, that marketing company is more of a drain on my bank account than it is worth it. And this will be my 3rd year with them, and looking at the numbers, they haven't changed from the 1st year to the 2nd year as far as getting leads off of them or even qualified leads. So I'm about to fire them. So I don't know what else to do here with leads. I mean,
what do you pay the company?
Shoot, I think it's $1,500 a month.
Okay. So have you ever figured out how many leads you need to hit your sales goals?
That I've been trying to nail down. As far as numbers and stuff concerned, some of the numbers fluctuated on me because I got a trailer and there was a few other things I picked up, and I realized that I was not charging enough for certain things. So I'm still trying to nail that the cost per lead down. So honestly, I don't know what it is off the top of my head, and I know it's not enough. So
let's get some clarity, just so I can help you the most. Let's talk 2025. What's your sales goal this year?
That's the fun part. Before I after I'd started all this and I'd got the email saying that we were going to do this, I was training my unit to go on deployment, and now I found out that they are pulling me onto the deployment. So unfortunately, half of my 2025 is gone because I'm going on. Yeah, I looked at my commanding officer and I was like, "Sir," and he goes, "I'm sorry, I need you." And I'm like, "Okay, fine." So I have to reconfigure all my numbers for this year just to, because I'm losing 3 to 4 months of the season at least.
So when do you deploy?
It's going to be June, July right now. So yeah, it's, like right there on the midway point of the year.
Man, they couldn't have picked the winner, huh?
Yeah. And that was the last time I went and did this same mission. I was like, cool. It's November when I'm leaving. I can shut down and, I got a whole year of not doing anything by the time I get back. I can sit and fix everything in the winter when I get back. And this time it's like, man, you just cut me off at the knees, guys. So.
Yeah. So that'll open up another level of problems, but
yes.
So we'll just figure, is it 2 or 3 months you're going to be gone?
For this deployment, it's going to be a full year. So it's from we'll figure,
June or
we'll
July,
just say
you're leaving for a full year.
Full year.
Oh, okay.
The orders are a full year.
Okay. So it'll be a 1-year deployment.
Yep.
So let's just get super simple here. What amount of money does this business need to bring in to help you?
Every year so far, I've been aiming last year I was aiming for $100,000 just in revenue, because now my wife is the accountant and she could tell you exactly what I need, but in my mind and the way my mind works around the numbers, $100,000, because at least 3/4 of that is going to come back to me in gross profit, and I can pay bills and actually be productive in helping out the household more than I am now. So I know if you were to ask my wife, she'd probably tell me somewhere at 150 to $2,000 or 200,000 is what I would need to be hitting in order to actually be where we need to be with the business. So.
And are you working alone or do you have a team?
Unfortunately, it's just me right now, and part of that is because of my random military schedule that I have.
Yeah.
So after this year, my wife and I actually talked about it. After this year, I either they let me just be at home, and I only go to 2-week, month-long schools or whatever. Because after this, my kids are going to be in high school, and I've told the unit that I said as soon as my kids hit high school, either I'm retiring or you're going to let me sit here and train everybody and do not ask me to deploy until after my kids get through high school.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, cool, and that's kind of one reason why I didn't fight this deployment, because I knew they were going to force me on the next one. So.
Does your wife work?
She does. She's full time. She works for. She's actually an accountant for the high school here.
Okay. So the good news in that is she's, bringing money in.
Yes.
You're bringing some money in with the military.
Yep.
So this is really like the ultimate side hustle you're running.
Yes.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I'm going to admit it. I've been treating it like a side hustle and not being extremely, extremely serious about it. But after this season, when my wife and I sat down and looked at the numbers, I was like, crap, I just where the hell is this thing going? And off the rails is the best description I can say.
Yeah.
So
the big fact here is you're trying to run a business when you have limited time,
yep,
no people,
yep,
and you need some more money.
yeah. That's bottom line up front.
When can you start production outside in Minnesota?
Normally end of March, beginning of April.
Okay.
If this year was like last year, as long as we don't get the nasty snow that we did in March, I could probably start mid-March. And I do have a couple of jobs already lined up. I've got a couple of them that we're actually discussing things right now. But really, I've got to cut. What they are is just quick one-day mulch jobs, and those are my most profitable project that I can do. 3-4 hours, maybe 5 at most, depending on how many yards I'm putting in and how far in the backyard I got to go with them. But my wife literally looked at me and said, "If you could do mulch," it was like, yeah, I know. If I could do mulch all day, all season, I'd be rolling in money. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, not everybody wants mulch all the time. So I have to do other things like patio work and stone installs and backyard renovations and stuff like that, which, so
my concern is if you're deploying in June, you have 2 production months.
Yeah, I know.
So
it's not much.
So before we get into the nitty gritty of fixing the problem, I want to, you know me, I'm a pretty straight shooter.
Yep.
Why bother?
And that's a question that my wife and I are discussing right now. Other than the few mulch jobs that I've got, there really is no reason we don't see a reason to bother this year. When I get back next year,
yeah,
because yes, the orders are for a year, but there's a bunch of other stuff going on in there that actually, last time I came back, I had a whole month of leave that I literally was sitting at the house doing nothing, getting paid just to sit there. Cause the military they were like, you're not working, but you have appointments and you have other things to do. And it was like, so you're telling me I have to sit on my butt? And they were like, yeah. So
like, I'm looking at this going, the options are fulfill what you've already sold for the year. And if something drops in before you deploy, you just do it and fulfill it and make a few bucks. And then from there, like, you're going to do that anyway, right?
Yep.
So then the option really becomes find truly a right-hand person that runs the company in your absence.
Yep.
And all you do is handle the marketing, driving the leads, or you just shut it down till you get back.
Yeah. And that's what we did on the last deployment. We quite literally, I tried finding somebody, and my wife looked at me and goes, "This is a drop dead date. If you don't find somebody by then, I'm not going to sit here and manage this person. I can't." And I was like, I don't expect you to,
right,
manage somebody, because you've got a full-time job dealing with, at the high school, she deals with millions of dollars,
Yeah,
and she comes home.
You don't need to add to her plate. Yeah.
No, I don't.
And where are you going on your deployment?
Europe.
Okay.
So
yeah, you could have a weekly Zoom with your right-hand person and, kind of game plan and coach and mentor, which is actually not a bad way to run a business, because almost and I'm just calling this day one, is you're not at the center of everything happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, you're literally running a company from day one that's going to run itself. The big issue is finding the person who, I mean, they're going to have to know how to sell, produce the jobs. So a lot of weight is going to be on them. And to get somebody like that, they're really taking a risk on you generating the lead flow for for them to have consistent income.
Yeah.
It's kind of a rock
Yeah.
and a hard place, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
What's your gut tell you should do?
Well, my gut tells me that honestly we should probably, and yes, it's the safe route, but just shut it down and shut down the operation or field operation side of it and do what I did last time and just continue to pump out marketing and answer questions and stuff like that. I did do a little bit of design work while I was out there for a couple of people because this deployment isn't your typical deployment. We have odd hours and we have weekends and all that stuff. So it's like I'd get home from work and I'm like, all right, cool. I got nothing to do. We don't have dinner tonight. I'll just, do this real quick, and I'd throw up a Facebook post or I'd crank out some landscape design or whatever for somebody. And so, I mean, that's what my gut's telling me, only because I know my wife and she's not too keen on hiring somebody and then everything falling apart on us. So
do you have you thought about just hiring subs?
I've tried. I shouldn't say I've tried. I've been looking into that. Only because this year I actually got hooked in with another landscape designer here in the cities, and she subbed me out, and I'm like, well, that was easy, and seeing it from, being the subcontractor side, I was like, that was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, so, but yeah, I mean, if I could get a couple of landscape companies around here to actually talk to me and call me back, because, they're not too busy, that would, I mean, that's definitely something I could work on doing.
I mean, because I could see, like, if I were in your shoes and I was deploying and I was still going to run my painting company, I would have a few sub teams, and then I would just control the marketing, and then I would do the sales virtually. And I think most clients will be cool with you if they know, like, you're serving our country and you're like, hey, I got a great team that'll get your project done, and send me some pictures. We'll have a conversation. We'll get on a Zoom. I'm in Europe, we'll come to an agreement, and then we'll get the job scheduled. It could be done. So I have no doubt that you can get leads and sell. It's the production, meaning not just doing the work, but like making it a great experience. So a lot of weight is going to be on your subcontractor lead person to communicate well and certainly get compensated for those things, because they're doing all the project management at this point. So it's not that it can't be done. I just want to make sure that you want to bother. And and I guarantee you there's a couple. I mean, it's not like you're going to scale to a couple $1,000,000 in the year that you're deployed. So to me, it's like you got a couple go-to, sub crews that are like smaller landscape guys that struggle getting their own leads, struggling selling jobs, and you just keep them busy, and you're all making some money. If you want to go down that route. So like all your numbers and stuff that you sent over, I mean, to me, all of that's like not even an issue right now. It's really the clarity of what you want to do, what you want to build. Do you want to bother? Let's pretend that you go, you know what? I'm just going to fulfill whatever comes in before I deploy. And once I deploy, we're just done until I get back. But if you want to ramp it back up and really build a company when you get off deployment, then during those months that you're not actively doing jobs, you can be creating content for your website and blogs and getting yourself up in search and just starting to build the brand.
Yep.
And then let's say somebody reaches out to you while you're deployed, you could just say, "Hey, I'm deployed, but I've got a couple. If it's something you really want to work with us on and get it done this season, then we can make it happen. But you just got to be okay with the fact that I'm in Europe right now."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was one thing that I ran into on the last deployment. I had a couple of my regular clients hit me up, and they were like, "Hey, are we going to do this?" And it was like, "Do you remember that email I sent to you in November that said I was going to be gone for a year?" They were like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Can it wait?" And they were like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay, cool." So I had work when I came back, but at the same point, at that point, I did have one guy that I could rely on, and I was like, "If you can't, get a hold of this guy, let him know that I sent him your way." And at that point, I think we had a 5% or a 10% finder's fee on that one. And my wife got a check one day, and she's like, "What's this for?" And I was like, "I sent some work to, old boy over there." She was like, "Oh, okay." So, and I was like, "Put it in the bank account, please." So.
Yeah. So that's I mean, let me, how do I word this? There are companies out there that are nothing more than a lead source for other companies, right?
Yep.
So, while you're gone, you could be that if you had a couple other companies lined up, even if you would, say you send somebody a $10,000 job and you keep 15, 20% of that for the connection or whatever the number
Yeah.
is, right?
Yep.
At least then you can still build your marketing and build your brand. And there's, what do they call it? Being a paper contractor. You ever heard that phrase? Like you're
Yeah.
basically just, a lot of remodelers and stuff get accused of being that because they sub everything out and the clients are like, but you're providing a service, you're connecting, whatever, but
Yeah.
so I just think the biggest piece of this is just super clarity on your part. What do you really want this next year to look like? Because me personally, the last thing I'd want to be dealing with when I'm out of the country is an unhappy customer.
Yeah.
So again, we know that happens from time to time, and there's problems and jobs that don't go as planned and all these other things. That's going to add to your stress level.
Yeah.
I mean, I've run. There's been seasons of my businesses through the years where I'm like, why did I even fucking bother? Like this added more stress than anything to my life, just so I can say I have a company. So I either got to get this shit right and really dial it in, or I need to hang it up.
Yeah.
And it's a, that's why I keep hitting this point with you. Like, what do you really want?
Yep. Yeah. And
what's your wife's name?
Kimberly.
What does Kimberly think you should do?
It depends on the day. But recently it has been hang it up. Just for the simple fact that with the things that are going on in the world, who knows what's going to happen after this deployment. I mean, I'm 42 years old. I'm getting up there in age. Obviously landscaping is not the easiest job on the body. And she literally looked at me, actually, I think it was last year, and she goes, "You either need to hire somebody or you need to find something else, to do, because you're wearing your body out pretty bad." And I was like, I'll beg to differ, but I still think I'm 25 in my head.
Yeah.
So don't we all? But to her point though, I get that, and that's why coming off this deployment, I am going to seriously sit down and look for that right-hand man, or person, I should say, because I honestly, it's going to get to that point where I'm going to have to sit in the office and do the sales, the marketing, and stuff like that, while I have my crew out there of, 2, 3 people, what have you, doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know after that $150 or 150,000, if I'm not sitting in this office generating leads, I'm literally screwing the pooch and, hamstringing us, so to speak.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's why I go, what is that dollar amount in your pocket that if you're deployed, you go, this makes it worth it.
Yeah.
Cause and I don't mean because of just your desire. I mean, literally because of your bandwidth and you're out of the country and this and that. If you can't whole ass the business,
yeah.
If you're half assing it, then you got to really go why.
Yep.
And you're in the landscape industry. This is just me spitballing at this point with you and just sharing my mind. I work with a lot of guys that build water features. If I were starting a part-time business in the landscape field, I'd probably just build small water features and do pond cleanouts.
Yep.
Because the profit margin is so damn high on those things
mm-hmm.
that you don't need, I got one guy who's in our programs. He does, call it 320, 330 a year in top line revenue. And he pays himself $2.25.
Yeah.
And it's him and one other guy, and got a nice pace of life, and he makes great money for what he's putting into it, So,
yep.
So again, the beauty of this is you get to design your company any way you want to serve you.
Yep.
I'm, and people argue with this, which is totally cool. My thing is I like having a niche within a niche. Like you got the broad landscape industry. And I know when you're starting out, you're doing everything because you're just trying to get some cash. But at some point you got to go, okay, what do we really want to hang our hat on and be known for? Whether it's patios, whether it's cleanouts, I don't care what it is. But the point is like the more you can sell the same thing, the number one, you build your brand in that little niche. And number two, it's easier for your team to get more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of pond guys. I know a couple pond guys in the Minnesota area right now that are in our program that you could probably sub some projects to, and they could build it and you'd never have to worry.
Yeah.
And I'm not telling you to go build ponds. I'm just saying like in any niche you choose, I think you'll have that. It's just a matter of these next couple months getting really clear on what types of projects you want to do if you're going to keep it running, and then focusing a shit ton of your effort on recruiting a team.
Yeah.
Multiple teams that you can have an agreement with, like, hey, I'm deploying. We talk 50% gross profit and all that other stuff, which is great. But you know what? If I deployed and I got a 30 or 35%, but I paid the shit out of my sub and I never had to worry, then I'd be like, hey, that's worth it to me because I'm gone.
Yeah.
Some money's better than no money coming in as long as I'm not going into debt. And, you can build your war chest and slowly just build your company behind the scenes for a year while you're gone. And then when you get back, you got a little momentum. If you're going to keep the thing long term.
Yep. And one thing that this just came to my mind. There's a couple of high school kids running around here, and I see them on Facebook and Nextdoor and stuff, and I was like, "You're selling the project for that? Ouch, dude! I understand you're young and new, but I couldn't get away with that price and live."
Yeah.
So it's like you and some of the other coaches within the fight, they were like, "Hey, hire that guy because
right.
I could make a killing off of him."
Well, listen, you only have so big of a production season anyway with landscaping.
Yeah.
I mean, you might be able to pick up some of these high school guys and then hire like a teacher who's off in the summer to be your PM. and they get a percentage of the profit or something. I know a lot of teachers that do shit in the summer. They paint, they build shit. I used to work for a guy that built above ground swimming pools in the summer months for 3 months a year. That's what he did. And so I think there's options. It's just a matter, again, like, and I hate to, I'm sorry I keep coming back to this, but I think it just really comes down to you just going, what inconvenience do you want to invite into your life while you're deployed?
Yeah.
And what do you really want? And then being able to go, okay, if I did all this, would the juice be worth the squeeze?
Yeah.
And because you're not in business, whether you're part-time, deployed or not, full-time, doesn't matter. You're not in business to not make a shit ton of money, proportionately to the time you put in or whatever. Right. So, so I'm like, the last thing I would hate to see is that you keep it running while you're gone and you have nothing to show for it at the end, other than you paid a bunch of people to do shit and you didn't make anything.
Yep.
And all you have to show for it is you're a little more stressed. And Kimberly's stressed.
I was going to say, and my wife literally threatening to divorce me if I ever do that again.
Yeah. So when did you find out you were deploying?
I think it was, crap. I'm trying to remember. I think it was either end of November or December.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're like, oh yeah, I want you to train these guys, because you've been there, you've done that.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden they went, we don't have enough people. And I went, no. And they're like, yes. And here's some incentives for that. And here's another rocker and a little bit of extra money. And I'm like, fine, you're gonna promote me. Good. Okay. Yeah. This financially makes sense. Fine. So, but.
So what do you feel some action items are here for you based on our discussion?
Well, first one is going to be actually sitting down with the wife and going over
That's
both
the first
options.
thing I wrote. See, talk to Kimberly. I wrote that down.
Great minds think alike here, Tom.
There you go.
But yeah, definitely the first one is to sit down, because she is actually 50% owner of the business as well, even though she does. She's 50% on paper. She does 75% of the management, but I do 100% of the field work. So it's kind of one of those odd things. But she's great with money because she's an accountant, So, well, if she tells me that's financially not it makes no sense at the moment, then I look at her and say, all right, it makes no sense. So that is. That's one thing that is going to be a big ticket item when I talk to her is, does this make sense? And if we can get this, settled in concrete, or at least wet concrete with some sub work, cool, but if we can't get a solid plan for doing the subs, honestly, I'm going to go with her and she's going to say, just suspend everything and just work on the marketing and branding on it while I'm out. So at least keep that momentum going.
Yeah, because I have it here that, step one here is you two have a real talk.
Yep.
If you come out on the other end saying, yeah, we want to keep this thing rolling while I'm gone, then it becomes recruiting.
Yep.
And building the brand. And then communicating that sales process to your clients that, when a lead calls in, you're like, hey, I'm super grateful that you called. I just want to let you know I'm in the military. I'm deployed. They pulled a fast one on me and they decided to send me away for a year. I have no control over that. I have a good team in place. We can fulfill your projects. I would also make sure you're not taking on projects that require crazy amounts of design and just get base hits.
Yep.
Like shit you guys can do in your sleep. And And
Yeah, mulch installs, rock installs, or tear out and replace type. Make it look nice and new.
yeah, um, and then, and if you decide not to do it, then you just go, hey, we're just going to table it. I'm going to write a blog a week while I'm gone so that my website is getting some juice. Stay in touch with your past customers,
Yep.
and then just pick it up when you get back. But again, I think the first domino is that you and Kimberly are like tied at the hip on whatever the decision is. Like you both
Yeah.
feel great about it, and I get it. There's certain things we want to defer to our spouse because, I mean, dude, you're gone. How many kids you got?
2.
Yeah, you're
And
gone.
they're going to be teenagers.
2 kids. So Kimberly's at home manning, Walker HQ
Yep.
while you're off partying in Europe. No, I'm just kidding. But
Yeah.
you know,
Uh,
you know what I mean.
to her, I'm partying. I'm on
Yeah.
vacation for a year.
Yeah. So she's going to be a single mom for a year.
Yep.
And then the last thing you want is any of this business shit to trickle over into her life when you're gone.
Yeah.
So I just think that's where this combination or this conversation is the first domino. And then I think from there, it'll open up to you. I mean, bottom line is you're going to be limited on what you can produce anyway with you not being here. And I get that.
Yeah.
It's not good, bad, nothing. It just is, you definitely have a unique situation here that a lot of contractors, I know some do, but not a lot of them that listen to this, they don't have this issue.
Yeah.
Now, some of these guys that run their business as a side hustle, they have a full-time career. And so I know they can relate to this, but they're not out of the country, or if they travel for work, it's only for a few days at a time or whatever. It's not all the time, but this is literally like you have zero availability to go put out a fire with a client.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without looking at everybody else going, you're going to do what? You're going to fly back to the States to do what?
Yeah. I wish I had more help to give you today, but until we have the clarity of what you guys really need to do and want to do, I don't know if it matters. But if you, and let's pretend you already had this conversation, like, hey, we're going to do this, then it goes back to, I would be producing content and Indeed ads. And, I'd take that marketing budget that you're wasting right now. I'd put it towards recruiting.
Yep.
And having conversations and laying out the situation with people. Maybe you got an Army brother in your reserve unit that's not getting deployed that could be your PM on site.
Yeah.
Who knows? Somebody that's good with people and organizational skills and has a little industry knowledge or whatever. I think there's options. There's always an option. As far, and then, if I were to hire, an Army buddy or whatever it was, I would also throw them in like a local BNI group or some sort of networking group to help generate leads. So you're not paying for leads. Have some things in place, to reach out to past clients and check in on them and just love up on them. I mean, all these things are totally doable, but none of it matters if you guys aren't all in with it. So, So based on the context of your situation, are there any other burning questions you have right now that I can help you with before we wrap up today?
Say we suspend operations and go the opposite direction instead of getting the crew. As far as building the brand, outside of doing blogs and stuff like that, for what other things could I be doing as far as that is concerned? Because here shortly I'm going to start doing. I'm actually going to sit down and do a whole month worth here and get everything programmed out. But I do, once a week I'll put out like Minnesota native plants and pollinator friendly plants, and it's just a little blurb of what it is, how it does, what it looks like, all that stuff. And it's every Monday I'll throw that out on the whole web there. It does all right. Hasn't, as far as I know, it hasn't generated any leads, but I've gotten a few people coming back going, cool, I'll add that to my garden or whatever, because that's one thing I've noticed is pollinator gardens and native plants are on the trending. There we go.
Yeah,
that's the word I'm looking
yeah.
for. They're trending. So I've kind of been hitting that a little bit hard. Wednesdays I'll put out, what are you working on, or what's your questions? That one flopped pretty hard because either I wasn't doing it at the right time, or my audience just doesn't care because they want me to come and do it for them. Yeah. So, I mean, as far as that, I mean, I don't know how else to engage my audience, because I mean, yeah, I could throw a profile out there. Hey, cool, here's Kimberly, but I can only do that, so often before everybody goes, dude, you did that a month ago.
Yeah, I think you being deployed, if you guys just shut it down, I would commit to writing and posting at least one blog a week.
Okay.
Because that's going to help your SEO juice.
Yep.
As you get closer, or as you move further into the deployment, I would start teasing that, like you could do a video, a selfie video that's on your social media that gets emailed out to your database. Like, hey, for those that, don't know, I'm deployed, I'm out of the country, and I guess where I'm going is I would start teasing that you're launching in the spring of 2026.
Yeah.
Like so I would just start building the brand that way, to where your domain authority is increasing, which is only going to help you when you truly get back and dive in.
Yep.
It really doesn't do any good to pay for any Google ads and shit like that if you're not going to do the work.
Yeah.
So I would just work on my own SEO in that way, of just creating a shit ton of content that's relevant, answer questions, educate. If a lead that's really wants to use you is hot to trot and they reach out to you while you're deployed, you play it by ear in that way. And you just go, hey, I got this sub or whatever, or you don't, you just say, hey, unfortunately I can't help you, but we're launching in the spring of 26. And if this is a project that you want to talk about when I get back, I mean, your hands are kind of tied in some of this,
Yeah.
So I, from a marketing point of view, I wouldn't be spending a lot of money on anything other than creating content, which really you can do for free. Just,
Yep.
You're deployed, you'll have all the time in the world to write shit. And, I think, that's only going to help you when you get back. But spending money on anything with a marketing company or anything right now, that's just wasting it.
Yep.
I don't, especially if you're like going, hey, we're shutting down, then I'm not going after all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like we discussed, but, there's the networking and the building relationships and all those things. I again, who's going to do it when you're gone? It's not Kimberly. That's where I said, like, if there were a teacher or a buddy or, something like that wanted, to represent the company and help build the brand and they can manage shit, that's a different story. But if you decide to, like, to answer your question, to shut it down, I think it's just creating the content. And then I would probably also reach out to like influencers, so like for me as a painting contractor, influencers to me are going to be like remodelers and interior designers and stuff. So I would, as it gets closer to me coming home, I'd be like, hey, I'm Tom with Simplify Painting and I'm deployed right now, but I'm coming back and there'll be a new painter in town. And if it makes sense for us to have a conversation, I'd love to line something up. And, help each other grow our businesses. You know, we thought we should know each other. Like, you can always plant the seeds like that, you know,
Yeah.
throughout the deployment. I think that's a card that'll play well for you. Like, you know, the fact that you're off serving the country and you're deployed for a year, you have no choice. You have no control over that shit. You're property
Yeah.
of the United States government, as we both know, when you're in the military. So it's, and I think people are understanding with that. And I think there's a lot of respect that goes with that. And so, you know, the right people that aren't in a hurry and shit, they'll be willing to wait for you and have a conversation when you get back. I just don't want you to be deployed and you and Kimberly are stressed about this fucking little thing all the time, you know, like just becomes this point of contention. You know, me personally, you didn't ask, but me personally, I'd probably shut it down, you know, unless this is like, you got to have X amount of dollars from this thing to help meet the needs at home.
Yeah.
So,
well, and that's why, not trying to put words in my wife's mouth, but why, honestly, if you were to ask Kimberly right now, even if I had a concrete plan of making sure that she didn't have to deal with anything except for checking the books every once in a while, honestly, she would probably tell me no. We're done. Just we'll pick it up when we get back if that's what you can do. Mm-hmm. You know. So, but
yeah, I mean, unity on the home front's the number one key here. No matter what the choice is, you and her being unified, feeling good about it, and there's no resentment or any of that bullshit going on. It's the last thing you need when in marriage anyway, let alone when you're deployed. So, well, dude, if somebody's listening to this and they're like, hey, motherfucker, I'm in Minnesota, I can handle some of this shit for you. Let's have a conversation. How can people find you and reach out to you, man?
Well, walktolandscaping.com. Actually, Walkter Landscaping anything, and that's across all the Facebook, Nextdoor, Instagram, Google. I mean, and it's WACHTER, just in case you're confused on how to spell that. But I'm right here in Rosemount, Minnesota, and honestly, you get anywhere close to Dakota County, and you'll find me somewhere in there. So,
guys, if you're listening to this and you got, you know, an idea for Bryce, you know, to help fill in the blanks and keep it rolling during the deployment, then, you know, there's a few contractors that listen to this show. So maybe there's a few of them in your area, or maybe somebody knows someone in your area. You know, reach out to Bryce and have that conversation and help him solve this problem, and everybody wins. So, well, dude, I appreciate you hopping on here. This is fun for me because it's a very unique situation. You know, we really only have a couple options here, but they're all dependent on the conversation that you and Kimberly have. And I think I'll just end with this. I think whatever you choose to do while you're deployed will be the right choice for you and her if you're unified on it, no matter what it is. As long as the two of you feel good about it, it's the right choice. And because again, the beauty of a business, man, is you can always start one. You know, just might not be right now. You know, sometimes it's not yes or no, it's not yet. You know, and again, I'm concerned with the pressure that a deployment puts on a family, and then you put this on. If you really don't have a rock solid person to lean on while you're gone, then it's probably not a good idea. Just from my take, but anyway, so what's your website domain?
WalkterLandscaping.com.
Okay, yeah. So guys, check out Walkter, WACHTER, landscaping, ing.com. Reach out to Bryce if this is something you might be able to help him with. Let's use the Fight Network here and see if you can help this dude solve this problem. So, Bryce, I appreciate you, man. I thank you so much for being here today.
I appreciate you too, Tom.
And keep me in the loop with what you guys decide to do, man.
All right, I will.
You got it. All right, guys, rate the show, share the show, and reach out to Bryce if you got any ideas for him of how to help him fill the gap here. Appreciate you guys. You guys rock. We got to roll. We are out.